Since I deferred my questions to the end, I have three. Let me start with Mr. Miller. You know, the NCTC has an arrangement in which a lot of its work load is taken up by detailees from other agencies. In an era in which increasingly our foreign policy and therefore our intelligence work and frankly multiple areas of U.S. policy, including geopolitics, trade, commerce, diplomacy, are increasingly focused on China and Russia and Iran and North Korea. And the concern, of course, is that even as we focus on these things, and rightfully so, that it could somehow detract from the role of, or the importance of counterterror, which remains an active threat and in many ways is metastasized and moved into different theaters. What is your view of this arrangement in which the NCTC relies, the counterterrorism mandate relies heavily on detailees from other agencies whose increased workload in these other four areas, great power competition and the like, could potentially place a strain on our ability to focus on the counterterror mission?
Thank you, Acting Chairman Rubio. Great question, and I really think the model works when resources are bountiful and everyone is committed to the mission. I think it's something, the beauty of that model was you're constantly rotating in new folks with new views, and you kept a degree of energy and individual thinking going. My gut instinct right now is we need to relook at that, because I'm concerned, as you note, that as resources get further constrained or other priorities take the fore, that we really need to think if that's the right model, because I've done this one before where you're trying to get borrowed labor and wow, it works great, but then until it doesn't. And I think we might be kind of getting to that point, sir.
And just to be clear, is it it's not the aspect of having new people come into the role, it is the question of numbers and workload. If an agency is being told we need more product, we need more work, we need more focus on, North Korea, they may not be able to part with detailees at the same scale than in the past. That's the bigger concern, is the numbers, not necessarily the fact that it's new people rotating in it.
Yes, Senator. I also think National Counterterrorism Center is doing some cutting-edge work on using artificial intelligence and machine learning. I think we're kind of baby steps right now. We're a long way as a government writ large to exploiting those, but I'm really hopeful that they continue to be best in class at that and figure out whether there are efficiencies that can be gained, because that's the goal in this. But right now, I completely hear what you're saying, and I'm going to look at that really closely if confirmed, and am concerned as well.
We're in this unprecedented situation where certain Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA authorities expired in March, and it's leaving the intelligence community and the Department of Justice without FISA business records, lone wolf, roving surveillance authorities. This question really is for both of you. What concerns do you have with the current expired status of these authorities?
Thank you, Acting Chairman Rubio, for another kind of really important question. I'm not an expert on 702 and FISA. I will say this from an operations standpoint. I think this is one of the things we learned from the horrendous attacks in 2001 is, typically speaking, it's better to have tools and not need them than need and not have after the fact. Once again, I'm not an expert on FISA. I understand the broad outlines. And more tools are better, generally speaking, as long as they comport with the Constitution, with our laws, and with AG guidelines.
Yeah, more specifically, my question is not so much about the legal arguments surrounding it or the political arguments, but whether it's an impediment to our counterterrorism, the current status, if it carries forward, whether that's an impediment to the counterterror mission. Your answer is obviously the more tools, the better. But how critical are those tools, or have they been historically, in your view?
Senator, I know there's a National Security Agency has some thoughts on that, and of course support the operational elements. However, once again, I can't speak specifically right now to what the impacts are on our intelligence take in regards to counterterrorism. But certainly, more is better, and I'll look at that if confirmed, sir.
Mr. Hovakimian, do you have any insights?
The provisions of FISA that expired on March 15th of 2020 have been very important and useful to law enforcement and to the national security community. And as Mr. Miller said, it's always better to have more tools and not necessarily need to use them. One of those provisions, in fact, I think the IC has said has never been used in history, but that doesn't mean there aren't a set of circumstances under which it would be useful. So if confirmed, I look forward to collaborating with this committee and with the legislative affairs professionals across the government to reauthorize those provisions.